Hello friends, my name is Yakrash Pathak and welcome to this video. First of all, thank you for supporting me as I have recently crossed 100 subscribers. I'm really damn sure that we'll be covering 1000 subscribers also really soon. So thank you for all your love and support. In this particular video, we'll basically make a full blogging application. A lot of new concepts such as how to manage a database, how to do authentication, and all those really interesting things will be covered in this particular video. And we'll be basically using a MERN stack for developing whole of this application. We'll be having a front end in React. We'll be having a backend in Express. For the database, we'll be using MongoDB, and for this all other things, we'll be also covering how you can upload data and all. So a lot of things are there in this video. So let's get started. First of all, we'll be not focusing a lot on styling and all, because the concept is to give you the mission of this particular video is to give you the concept. So let's get started. First of all, we'll be starting by creating a new folder, and we'll be calling it, let's create a new folder which we'll be calling it the whole application. So what to name our application? First of all, we have to think about it. Let's name our application chat app, or we have a blogging application, right? Blog app. Okay, and let's name it blog app, and basically this will contain all our application. So the next thing we'll be doing is opening a terminal over here, and basically we'll be creating two folders over here. Okay, we'll be creating two folders over here, one for the client side and one for the server side. So we'll say mkdir client, and one for the server, so we'll say mkdir server. That will basically create two folders, one for the client, one for the server. And let's actually start with the client side, making the client side and server side. We'll be coding both of them together almost whenever we require, like whichever part. So then let's go to the server first, and let's start setting up the server. So I have moved to the server folder, and I'll be initializing a node project over here. So we'll say npm init, okay, and /y to simply answer all the questions to yes, which it asks. Okay, so this has generated a script file, as you can see, the script file in our folder. The next thing we'll be doing is installing some of the dependencies. So we need Express, okay, we need a course, which is used for like cross origin access and all. So that will basically allow us to I'll be basically explaining you each and every library when we use them. First, let's install them. And the next thing we'll be using is mongoose for making all the MongoDB thing. The next thing we'll be using is helmet, that's for security. What's next? Maybe a Bodyparser. We'll be using Bodyparser. Anything else? I don't think so. For now, I think that's okay. If anything else we'll be needing, we'll be including that later on. Okay, that's all I can remember right now. If anything else comes later on, we'll be focusing on them later on. So let's see, friends. I don't skip all these installation part and all. So just if you find this installation part boring and all, so you can just skip it. Okay, so we have successfully installed all those things. The next thing we'll be doing is installing some development dependencies. So npm install /d, capital D. We need a nodemon to automatically restart a server whenever we make any changes to it. Basically, this will restart that server. Now you can see we have successfully installed nodemon. The next thing we'll be doing is starting it in the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so as you can see, we have successfully started this in Visual Studio Code. Let's see how much time does it take to really initialize it and do its work. But basically right now we can see like we have successfully started our server. And here you can see our server. The next thing we'll be doing is creating an index.js file from where every execution of like our server will basically start from here. So wait, what are you doing, man? Stop it, and you just go away. We'll be doing is we'll be creating an index.js file, which will basically contain all our the starting code of our server. So we'll start by importing the express. So we'll say require express. The next thing we want is cause, so require cause. The next thing we want is helmet is equal to require helmet. The next thing we want is maybe a Bodyparser is equal to require Bodyparser, and I believe that's it for now, importing the packages. Now let's go and actually start the server first. Okay, let's initialize the app. So app is equal to express. Okay, and then we'll be having all our middlewares over here. Which are executed, like you can say that the app, these are like plugins, okay, that will be used in our application for specific purposes. You'll see how we'll be using it in the application. So basically the first middleware which we want is cause. First let's start with the helmet. So we'll say app.use helmet, and this will basically remove all the this will remove all the traces by which anyone can identify that we are using express, because that could be a major security flaw, because hackers could use express related attacks for attacking our server. So helmet will basically remove all those information which can help a attacker to crack our website. The next thing we'll be doing is basically using this course middleware. So course is like it will allow all the external sites to connect with our server. Basically you can you can specify options, and in production application we do this. So basically you can give the specific sites which you want to allow for connecting to your server. In our case right now we'll be allowing all the sites to connect with our server. The next thing we'll be doing is bodyparser.json. This is a JSON parser. This will, like, if there's some JSON data coming, it will automatically pass it to JavaScript objects. So that's something great. The next thing we need is a body parser, basically. URL len encoded extended true. Basically this will do what? This will pass all the form data which we might have, and those were all the middlewares which we need. Let's move ahead. Let's specify okay, we need one more middleware which I actually forgot to install, so let's install that quickly. So that is npm install a Morgan. Okay, this is a logging tool which will log every request of the user in our console, so that, like, we can really check what's going on in our server in real time. So we'll just say let Morgan is equals to require Morgan. So basically after specifying all these things, we'll say app.use Morgan. Okay, the next thing which we want is, after like Morgan, you have to actually specify like which type. So you can see all the type: combined, common, dev, tiny. Let's go for tiny. Most probably, like, that will give a short like whenever anyone tries to connect with a server, that will actually log that thing up. The next thing is actually starting the server. So let's say starting the server. So we'll say simply app.listen listen on some port, so we need some port over here, right? So let's say let port, so let's give all the constants over here at the top, so all the constants over here. So we'll say const port is equals to process.env dot port. Basically that is like if any port is defined by default from the server, then that will use that, otherwise just use port 8000. And other than that, we also need one more variable, so it's called isDev, like is it a development environment or a production environment. So we can say process dot env dot node env, that is node environment. If it is not equal to production, that means it is if it is not equal to production, that means it is a development environment. You know, it's simple. Next thing we'll be doing is specifying actually the port on which we are working with, and then it will actually give us a callback function. Okay, and basically we'll be logging this something over here, and we'll say the server has started successfully. Actually, we'll say the server started successfully on port. Which port do we have started the server on? Port, this particular port. Okay, so we have done all these things, like we'll be using these things of course, but for now this is this initial setup. The next thing which I'll be doing is creating an error handler, custom error handler, which will basically handle all our errors and all, because the default handler is not at all good in Express. So that will basically show all your paths and all stack traces and all to the users, and which is like really bad from the point of view of security and all. So what we'll do is like we'll also implement an what do you call an rate limiter, so that also will be doing. So basically we need to make an error handler, so we'll say app.use. okay, and app.use basically for making an error handler we need 4 things. So error, request, response, and the next function. And for the, like, if it is wait, let's say response dot status code 500 dot send, we're gonna send this thing. The message is there was some internal server error. The next thing we'll be doing is error, or we'll say error message. So that is like the error dot message. Okay, the next thing we want is the stack, so you can we can say error dot stack basically, and that will give all the relevant information. But if you think about it twice, actually we don't want to give this error message and stack to in the production environment, because that will not be good for security and all. So what we'll do is like we'll write an terminary operator over here. So if like it is a development environment, question mark, if it's true, contact developer, and if it is not, then simply do what you were doing before. Same over here. So we'll say if is dev, like is it development environment, and we'll say okay, we are doing a posit thing. So basically we if like it is a development environment, we're gonna print the message, otherwise not. So we'll do the same thing over here. It's like if it is a development environment, we'll basically give the stack, otherwise we'll say contact the developer. We forgot to write the over here. So yeah, so that is like very basic thing that will basically if you are in a development mode, that will show the stack trace and the error message, and if you are not in the development mode, that will not show the stack trace and the error message. That's great. So we have all these things set up right now. Let's save it, and let's now run this application, and let's really hope that everything goes well. Okay, we forgot one thing. So let's go to package.json file and actually set up all our X scripts and all. So the first script we need is the start script, which we'll use in the production. So we'll say node index.js, and in the development environment we will basically be using node mon for restarting our server every time. So we'll say node mon index.js. Yeah, that's basically it, and we can start our server now. So we can say npm run dev. That will basically start our server. You can see the server started successfully on port 8000. That's great, we have set it up. Now the next thing is setting up the database. For setting up the database, we'll be using a database called MongoDB Atlas. So we can simply search for this over here, and come on, okay. Mongo Atlas, basically this is a service which lets you create free database if you want to learn MongoDB. So basically this link, mongodb.com/cloud/atlas, and if you don't have this link, don't worry, I'll be providing a link in the description below, so you can go through that link and basically create your account, create a free account. I'll be logging in with my Google account. So okay, so as you can see, I've logged in with my account. I have already registered for this particular service, but in your case you might not have. So I'll recommend you to simply, you know, simply register here. So basically the thing which we'll be doing is getting the database access and creating a new user, as because I don't remember any of these password of any of these users. So the thing which we'll be doing is creating a new user. Let's delete all the previous users which we had. Delete, and whatever it is, let be like and let's delete this one also. Okay, this is an important one, so let's not remove that one, and let's create a new user. So we'll call it like, let's call it root, and let's auto generate a password. Let's show it. So basically this is the password we had. Oh man, we have to do it again. Root auto generate a password, show, copy, and add user. That will basically add the user. The next thing we'll be doing is setting it up in this here. So basically we'll be creating a new folder called db that will contain all the database related things. So we'll be creating a new file here, index.js. So let's say let mongoose be equal to require mongoose. Okay, the next thing we'll be doing is basically creating the connection. So we'll say let db, no, not like this actually. So let's say mongoose dot connect, and then you have to specify the URL. So now from where will you get the URL and all? And one more thing, to store the password and all, you should always store it in an .env file. That is the environment variable file. So let's install that quickly. So Control Shift T for opening a new tab in Ubuntu. So npm install .env, that is .environment, and basically that will install .env in our system, in our project, and that will help us to store all the environment variables. That's great. The next thing we'll be doing is creating a .env file. So .env environment variable file, and that will contain all our passwords. So we'll say basically db user, the username is root, okay, and db pass, that is the password, is this thing. Okay, that's great. So we have the db user, db password. The next thing we'll be doing is basically getting the link from here. So then you go to the cluster and then go to the connect thing. Okay, and then connect to your application and basically copy this whole link from there. So we copied this, and let's simply go and paste it over here. Once you go down there, so let's name our database. So we can name our database from here. So we'll say it, what should I say it, blog app. So blog app, that is blogging application, and basically you have to give your username and password over here. So we'll be just using string interpolation for this particular process. So we'll say process dot environment dot what was that, db user, I believe, but it will not work for now because we haven't configured the .env file. So we'll be configuring it and all, so in a while. So just process dot env dot db pass, I believe that's the key, db pass and db user. That's great. So db pass and db user, let's save it. That will basically create it, and our database name is blog app, so just don't forget that. Okay, that's quite important. There are two main two other configurations also which we need to pass over here. So use new URL parser to true, and the next thing is use unified topology also to true. And the next thing we'll be doing is actually getting the database over here. We'll say let db is equals to connection. Okay, mongoose.connection. The next thing we'll be doing is db, once this connection is made, so we'll say db dot once not yeah, on, basically on, if there is a connection made, we can say we can actually call a function, so we can log something up, and we'll say data connected to the database successfully. You can say connected to the database successfully. Okay, so we get connected to the database successfully over here, and basically the next thing we'll be doing is calling db dot once there's an error. What we'll be doing is we'll be basically getting the error over here. We'll say we'll log the error, and we'll say there was some error during connecting to the DB. Okay, the next thing we'll be doing is we'll only show this error basically when it is in the okay, let's not show the error over here. Let's leave it like this, or we can show that. So we can say process.env. Basically you should always create a variable for this, but I'm doing it like this: production. So let's put it in a variable, let is dev, because that will be like much more cleaner and all. So if we'll say like, okay, we'll say is dev is, if it is true, then log the error, else null. Like you don't have to do anything if it is not. Or you can, like, there's one more way we can write and over there, and basically we don't have to specify this and this is a smart way of writing, like if condition. So that will like check if it is in the development environment, then only it will log the error, otherwise it will not log the error. So that's how everything is going on right now. So let's actually go and actually in reality test it. So we'll just connecting to the database over here. So let me write that after initializing the date. So we'll say require dot slash db. Okay, so we can just mention here database stuff. So database stuff. Okay, so basically that will be a database stuff. Everything related to the database will be there, you know, in that, with that. And if I go to the terminal and actually start and see the server, you can see a long errors there. Basically there is authentication error, so my username and password is not correct, and there's an issue. Okay, actually we forgot to configure our .env file, so let's do that first. So say require .env, as the error is coming. .env. Okay, and we haven't installed also .env, so I think we do have. Yeah, we have installed .env, and then let's configure this. So that will basically configure it, and that should basically help us to connect to the database. Yeah, you can see the database has been connected to the database successfully without any issues. So that's great. Database is all set up, the server is all set up. The next thing is to create some modules on which we are actually going to work in the front end. So let's create them first in the database. So let's create a new folder inside the database folder. Let's call it modals. This will be all the modal things, and we'll be creating a user model over here. So we'll say .js, and let's import all the things. So not import actually, that mongoose be equal to require mongoose. Okay, the next thing we'll be doing is creating a schema. So let's call it user schema. I don't know the spelling is correct or not. I think it is, but we'll see that later on. Mongoose.schema, schema. Oh, that's strange. That's correct. Okay, so basically the ID to the user will be automatically generated, so we do not need to create a user ID or something like that. But yeah, every user will have a name for which will be required, and which will be of type most probably string. The next thing we'll be having is basically a username, email ID, require true. The next thing which we require is a type. So basically that's type of data which will be there. So we'll be storing the email ID as a string. The next thing which we want is basically a password, and require true, type string. And don't worry, we'll be not storing plain password, we'll be hashing and salting them. So you'll see how to do that also in a while, but for now that's okay. And then the next thing we'll be doing is exporting this. So we'll say module dot exports is equals to mongoose dot, simply write that modal, and you know, really be careful not to pick this capital modal, the small modal, because that can create a big trouble. So basically first of all you have to name this user. That will basically create a users collection in our database, and specify the schema which we have, and that will basically make the users thing. The next thing we'll be doing is creating a posts model, which will be responsible for creating all the posts, the JS. And basically this will have this will be extremely simple. This will be the same thing almost. Mongoose require mongoose, and okay, so this will be posts. Okay, so this will be posts, and this will be mongoose dot schema. Okay, and then after, what we'll do is like we'll be simply giving a title to the post, which will be required basically. So this will be required required to true. The next thing we want is to specify the type of data we want. This should be a string, and basically you can go and do a lot of stuff. You can write the maximum amount of character, minimum amount of character and all, but for now, you know, we just want to understand the concept, so we'll be keeping it simple. Description des, okay, DESC RIP TSC RIPTION. Description, same, required true, and type will be string. Okay, let's move forward. So we have description as a true and type is string. The next thing we want is posted by, so basically posted by, and basically what we want is we want to link this by the user ID. So what I want is basically whenever, like, whatever user ID we pass over here, the whole data from that particular thing, like let's say user, that will should come here. That's what we want, right? So actually we can do this. So let me actually show you how you can do it. So external data in mongoose connect. I don't remember that what should be the external, how to reference a MongoDB from external models. Okay, that's, you can see that's how we do it. Object ID, okay, and schema.object ID. Okay, that's great. So wait for a second, actually. Let me actually see it, how it is done. Okay, so that's not what we want. Yeah, that's what we want actually. We want to reference the how to reference the data from one model to another in mongoose. That's what we want actually, basically. Query population, that's what we want actually. Let's go to the official documentation. That will give us the most correct story. So yeah, that's how you do it. See, so that's like how you do it. So basically you say schema.types.object ID, and you just pass the reference, and that does it work. So basically we want this to have a type of schema dot types dot object ID. So that's what we want basically. You know, we just go here and we specify, okay, let be like that. I don't care about this thing being so long and all. That's okay for me. And next thing, what was that? We just need to specify an type and a ref, that is reference. So okay, let's specify a reference. The reference which we want to give is user. So if you go to the user, you can see this user. So that will basically you know, whatever user ID which we give to this particular place will be populated. That's something great. So posted by, title, description. Let's give one more thing. Created on, and this will be basically require. There will be a timestamp over here, so we can say created before, created on, let's say created on, and let's say type is date. Okay, and it is required is true. And one more thing, let's say required true over here also, because you know he or she must has to mention like who has created this post. The next thing which we want is we want to say module dot exports is equals to model posts dot model, and the first parameter which you have to give is this thing. So we'll say post, and remember don't give s and a s like posts and all, that will also automatically be done. So basically you'll have a posts collection by default. By this particular writing, this just post. Okay. Oh, my backbone is paining. Okay, so basically that will do its work, and we'll be creating posts. Anything else do we need for now? Okay, we may need an image. Okay, so we'll say description and a post image. So you'll also learn about how to upload an image in this particular in Express.js. So we'll say, but this will not be this will not be required. So this will say image URL. Image URL will be okay. The image URL will be of as a post image. We don't require. So post image, the type will be string. Okay, and the required, it is not required. Okay, so we'll not be specifying like this. Okay, we can do one more thing. We can short this thing up and directly write OS string. So that will also work basically the same way as we have done it. So basically that now what will happen is like, you know, we can give a post image link, actually URL, and that will be a server URL. In a server all the images will be stored and all. So basically that's it. That's the plan right now. Let's see how far we can reach. I think we have completed the model and all. The next thing we will be writing is the authentication thing. So let's make a routes folder which will basically contain all the routes and all. So route folder. Let's create an index.js file which will be basically controlling all the other routes. So the first route we'll be creating is authentication.js, and we'll say let router b is equal to require express, okay, dot router. At end we'll be saying module, not this, module dot exports is equals to router. Okay, and the next thing we'll be doing is router dot get request at slash sign up. Okay, and we may have a request and a response. Okay, and to do sign up. We'll be writing all the sign up logic over here. The next thing is sign in. So we'll say router dot get sign in, the same thing, request and response over here. So response, the next thing we'll be doing is basically we'll be showing it today to do sign in. We'll be implementing the sign in over here, sign up over here. Anything else in the authentication? I don't know. Okay, and let's actually implement this particular sign in thing. Basically in the sign in, we'll start by sign up. So we need three things: name, email ID, and password for sign up. So let's actually do it. So let name, or let data data be is equals to request dot body. That will basically contain all the data which we want. The next thing we'll be doing is checking actually does this have everything which we require and all or not. We'll say let errors, or let's say let error be equals to an array. Okay, and then we can move forward, and basically I'll be installing a package which is called isempty. So let's clear this out. npm install is I believe empty is empty, and actually this package is used to test all kind of things, like if a variable is null, is like blank, is like undefined, and all those things. So that's something really cool. So let's actually import it. So let's say is empty is equal to require is empty. Basically we'll say if is empty data dot name, if name is empty, error dot push name not defined. Well as because I have really less data, so I'm directly like validating the data. If you have larger set of data, just use some API, some sort of API to validate the data, like Joy, and there are a few more. So yeah, you can use those libraries to, if like your data size is really large. For me it is small, so I'm directly using it. Email, you can say error dot push email, what, email not defined or not present. Okay, so it's a email not present. Okay, and the next thing is empty data dot password. So the first thing which we will do is password not found. So the first thing we'll be doing is actually hashing and salting. Okay, so first of all, let's handle this whole verification thing. So if error dot length is not equal to 0, then return rest dot status. I believe 401 is for the user mistakes, so I can send 401 dot send rest, that is result of all this authentication thing is false. And the error is, let's pass the error. Okay, basically that will be it, and we'll handle all the authentication. So we can say from here we are actually writing the data validation. Okay, actually you should also check like whether the email is in correct format or not, but for now let's leave it. Okay, so the next thing we'll be doing is we'll be basically hashing and salting the algorithm, hashing and salting the password, then storing the password, generating a JSON web token. There's a lot of things. So now let's install all the authentication related dependencies. So npm install JSON web token and bcrypt. I believe bcrypt is now already there in the node itself. So let's install JSON web token because that's what we require later on. Okay, now we have the JSON web token. Let's import all these packages which we require. So we'll say JWT is the JSON web token is equals to require JSON web token. The next thing is we require bcrypt. So let's see, is it like, I think it is already present in node. Let's see, No, it is not present. Let's install it, no issues. So npm vcrypt pt vcrypt. That's like an encryption library which will encrypt our password and make it into an unreadable form, and then we'll be basically generating JSON web token out of the data, which like the email ID and password, email ID and name and password, and we'll be giving it back to the user, or will not be giving the password and all. We'll be just giving the email ID and name, and then we can check later on whether the user is authenticated or not. So now we can say bcrypt. Okay. Okay. So from here onwards, we'll start hashing and salting hashing and salting the password and all. So we'll say, like, there are a lot of ways in which you can do it. So let's go and find it in the bcrypt documentation. Bcrypt. Okay. Basically you have to sign the thing. So it's like generate salt. Basically this is the way to generate the salt. And then this, like I actually like this very thing like more as compared to other things. So let's use this. Okay, so we'll say bcrypt dot hash the password, and basically we need to give some data. So the data is, what do you want to basically hash? So we want to hash data dot password and basically then you have to give rounds. I'll give 10 round hashing, and then you'll have like a callback function. And okay, sorry. So we'll have basically two things over here. First is the error, and next is the hash. Basically whatever hash it will generate, you'll have it over here. So I'm just coding. I'm not testing, because don't worry, like we'll be testing it vigorously, but I just want to complete all these things. And usually what happens, with testing and all, the length of these videos really increases, and then you tend to like, but we'll be testing it. Just let me complete this authentication thing, then we'll be starting with the front end, and then we'll be testing it. Okay, so we have the hash. So the next obvious step is to store it in the database, right? So let's do it. Okay, so storing it in the database. Okay, so basically we have the hash, and now let's store it in the database. So we'll simply say user. So let's import the user. We don't have the user right now, so let user what's happening, require user, require dot slash db slash modal slash user. Basically that will import the user thing, and we can basically say let user is equals to new user, and give all the information. So basically this has a name, so you can say data dot name. This has an email ID, so we can say data dot email ID. Next thing what we have is password. So basically we'll not be storing the plain password, we'll be storing the hash which we have. And one more thing, we'll be doing all these only if there's no error during hashing. So if there's no error, so if there's no error, then only we'll be doing this. Else, if there's an error, what we'll do is like we'll simply say next. And where's the next function? Well, next function is over here, which we need to specify, and this will send this to our error handler. Wait, next, and this will basically send this to our error handler. So we'll say error, and this will send it to our error handler basically. Okay, that's cool. So we've created a new user. Let's organize this a bit. Yeah, we have created this new user. We haven't created, we have created this, and let's now save this particular thing. So it's a user.save. Okay, and basically then, like, this is actually a promise, so we can say dot then okay, okay, so actually then you have the documentation which has been created, and if there is an error, so that's like catch some error. If there's an error, we'll simply call it the next, and we'll give it the error, and that will basically handle the error. Here in between, when the data is saved basically successfully, we'll simply say response dot send data saved successfully, or like user created successfully. Basically let's send it like this: res true. Okay, and message user created successfully. Basically what is happening is, like, we are, after like hashing this algorithm, we have created this user object from the model which we have created for the database. We then save it, and we, like, if that thing is successful, we get this documentation back from the server. If that's not successful, this error is called, and this thing is executed. So yeah, so we're sending this response that the response is true and the message is user created successfully. Yeah, the next thing we'll be doing is, actually we have to test this, but we actually, one work is still left. The next work is actually generating the JSON web token which is required. So let's do that now. So actually before sending the request, sending the response, we have to generate the JSON web token. So we'll say generating the JSON web token. Okay, so we'll say JWT is JSON web token dot sign, and we require a payload. So what is the thing which we wanna sign? So we can just give few things. So we can give an email ID. So we'll say doc.email. Okay, and we can give a name basically, so we can say doc.name. The next thing will be not giving anything else. The next thing which we want is basically a secret key, or like the key which will be used for decryption and all. Let's create this key. So we'll be just saying JWT key is equal to, let's say this is some secret, SECRET. Okay, and just don't put your JWT just like these dumb things which I'm keeping. Just keep something serious. Okay, so just don't do what I'm doing right now. So, and let's say process.env dot this thing. Okay, not this thing, JWT key. I believe that's what we have given the environment variable. Let's see, JWT key. Yes. So we have process.env.jwt key, and the next thing will be, the last thing we'll be having is okay. So after doing this, actually we can write an async await function over here. We are really making like all sorts of things, dot then async await everything. So yeah, so okay, it's not required actually. We can write dot then over here also, and basically we will get an value if that is done. So value is basically the token So we can, instead of value, we can wait for a second, we can say token over here. So that's basically the token, and if there's some error or something, so we'll say catch the error, and we can say next upon this error and all. Yeah, for now that's okay. The next thing, the final step, is we have the token, so we can say token, and that's the reason, you know, async await is much more recommended, because that makes your code much more readable. But right now we are not using it here. I don't know why, but we are not using it. We are using a lot of .then and .catch and all, but I think you are getting it right. It's not anything difficult or anything very confusing. If you find this confusing, I can create a doubt, just comment down below, and that will basically, that's how the sign up is going to work. And one more thing, you know, we need a cookie parser, because we'll be setting this token as a cookie. So we'll say response dot cookie dot cookie, and basically we'll be setting JWT, this is JSON Web Token, and then whatever the token is. Okay, so let's give it a comma over here. That's it. So we are actually setting our token JWT from the server, and we are passing the token to this, and that will basically make the sign up process work. The next thing is we have to make the sign in process work. So let's first actually test this sign up process, and then after we'll be moving to sign in process. So let's see. Now after a long time, let's see our server. So yeah, it's working all fine. It does not have any problem. One more thing, you know, this auth is actually not connected to anything, so that's why this is creating, so like this is not impacting the terminal and all. So we'll just say it the same thing, not mongoose over here, a router. This is like this index page, okay? So don't just get confused. This will actually you know, bundle all the routes and send it to the main index page. So route is equal to require express dot router. The next thing we'll be doing is exporting it, so we'll say modules dot exports is equals to our router, and then we'll say auth thing, so we'll say auth is equal to require dot slash auth, and just we have to pass this all the things as a middleware to this, like of course like by specifying the address and all. So anything, if any request comes to slash auth, it will redirect to this thing to this auth thing, and basically that's it. The next thing, the next final thing we have to do is import this over here. So let's do it. Let all the routes be is equals to require basically dot slash routes, and let's quickly go and pass this as a middleware. So app dot use anything which comes to slash API slash version 1, it will send it to the routes thing, not router thing, it's routes thing. I don't know why have I written like router. We don't need this router and all, we need routes. Okay, I believe that's it, and let's see. Yes, we have all the codes without any like syntax error and all. If we make any error in the code over here, like in the execution, we'll see it later on, but for now, like the syntax, there's no syntax error and all. The next thing we'll be doing is creating the front end for our application in basically React. So let's go back and let's go to the client. Okay, let's create the console and let's start creating the project. So we'll say npx create react app. We'll be using create react app for creating a project, so let's call it let's create in the current directory. Basically this will name our project as client. We'll be changing later on, that's not an issue for now. I don't know how much how much duration video we have made. So it's about 1 hour. That's great. We have completed 1 hour and we have made like quite a good progress. We have made the authentication. We haven't tested it and all, but we have made it. We just need to make login system and all the other things, and basically that will be it. And let's wait till this thing finishes up. Okay, and let's wait until this create reactor finishes. We'll be meeting you after this thing finishes. Till then, let me go and drink 1 glass of water. So let be happening. Okay friends, I'm back again. So now you can see our React app, making is actually complete. And now we have to, like, we have done some work in the backend, and now we have to start working on the front end. You might be thinking, why am I not testing my application? Because that testing again wastes a lot of time. But now I'll be testing as I have something to show in the front end and all. So this is the whole of the thing. So the one thing which I'll be doing is, this might be something new to you, is configuring a proxy server for our React application. That will basically help us to we every time do not have to specify the full length for the full backend address. That will basically anything starting from /API will automatically go to the server, and we do not have to explicitly do it. Okay, so just we'll search for create React app proxy proxy. So yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so we are not interested in any of these things. Basically you have to install this particular repository called http proxy middleware, and let's do that first. So let's install this http proxy middleware. Okay, so let's wait till this finishes. So then we will be moving forward and making all the other things. So let's wait. Okay, so yeah, you can see now the library has been successfully installed. The next work we'll be doing is, right now we have the server. We'll be adding client as a workspace, so that will be like we can build both of them together with this. And basically the way to add one more folder to this is like add folder to the workspace. So basically we'll just click on that and just go and select the client thing and click add. So that will basically add this to our workspace. So you can see, as you can see, this thing has been added to our workspace. I don't know why it's showing other workspace is actually untitled. This is our server and this is our client. So you can see both of the things are actually there. So right now we are really concerned about the client, and we have done a lot of work in the server. So actually let's do one thing. Let's go here and icon color theme minimal. What is that? Yeah, that's actually better. I think that's looking better. Okay, whatever the thing is, let's move forward and go to our source directory over here. And the first and foremost thing which I'll do is, before doing anything, is delete all other extra unwanted thing which we don't require. So we don't require this app.js. Wait, I don't want to delete some useful thing. Have I deleted something useful? Okay, app.css. Let's delete that. App.js. Let's delete that. We don't need this app test.js. we don't need this index.css or something like that. We need index.js. We don't need this logo.svg. We don't need this report web, whatever this is. We don't need this setup test and all. We just, there should be one file which is index.js inside this whole thing. Let's remove all these things which we don't require. Let's remove all these imports which we actually do not need. So that's great. And let's actually create an app over here, app component. Let's call it like let's call it app, and a functional component. Let it return maybe a div. And one more thing, I just want to change this from index.js to basically index.jsx. Wait, what am I doing? Function f2 index.jsx. Yeah, you can see. And now actually this will give me better support for this. We'll say hello to everyone for now. Like, okay, after doing this, for setting up the proxy and all, as you must have remembered, we have installed this particular thing. We need to create a file called proxy setup proxy inside our setup proxy.js inside our source directory. So let's do that quickly. Let's go to source directory and create a new file called setup proxy.js, and basically copy and paste all the stuff from here. Basically, we require the same functionality, just the port number is different. So yeah, so let's paste this there, and let's say 8000 over here, because that's the port we require. That's the port on which our backend is running. Once that is done, let's actually collapse our server. I don't know why every time this is expanding. Okay, let's now close everything. Close all, everything close. Cool. So after this, writing the setup proxy and this index.js, the next thing we'll be doing is starting the server. So we'll just go to the terminal and say npm run start. Okay, the problem is that we'll start the Firefox, and I want everything we do running on the Chrome right now. Yeah, everything's going on great. So let's see. Yeah, it's actually starting the development server, the front-end development server. It will take some amount of time to actually start the development server, start this development server. So now we have our front-end app up and running. You can see over here, and the proxy setting and all, everything is well and good. The next work is to actually implement the login system. So for implementing the login system, basically we require one more library, which is first of all we need router, right? So for implementing router in React, we need a library called React Router DOM. So npm install React Router DOM. Okay. Actually this library will enable us to go from one page to another page, and also control which component will be rendered when, actually basically on what condition. So that will be cool. Okay, I'm thinking of, for styling and all, I'm thinking of using Tailwind CSS, but let's see how everything goes on. But okay, it's actually starting installing. So Okay, man, you can see this React Rotterdam has been successfully installed on our project. So we can simply go to this particular place now and start making stuff. So in the source directory, we'll be making a folder called components. Components, spelling wrong. Let's fix the spelling. Components. Okay. The next thing will be, which we want is basically in pages folder, which will basically contain all our pages. So the first page which we'll be making is the home page, the JS, which will basically not JS, JSX. So function F2 JSX, and we'll be starting. Basically, I have extension installed which gives me some snippets like IMR for importing React, SFC for generating a functional component, and I'll simply say home page over here, which will let me generate a home page very easily. Okay, the idea is very simple. We'll be having a homepage and we'll be using simple CSS for styling. So I have cancelled the plan of using Tailwind CSS because that will be something way like overstretching the thing. Okay, so I think like covering all these topics in one video is also a very large thing. So giving like the Tailwind CSS also like increase it on a very large thing. So that's okay right now for right now. So that's the home page, and let's specify the styling for the home page over here. So we'll say style dot module dot css. Actually, there's an extension which can make this thing look really beautiful. Right now it is not, like, you cannot distinguish between the files. So actually let's install that. It's called Google material, something like that. So material icons, I believe, material icon theme. Yeah, that's the thing. And we can install this, and that will basically make everything look prettier, better. Okay, let's wait. Yeah. Okay, so now just material icon. Let's now go to home page, and yeah, that's activated. So now you can see that looks better, way much more better than before. All these things looks way better. Okay, so we have this homepage.jsx and the style.module.css. So let's start by importing this CSS thing. So we'll say import style from, and if you're thinking why we have mentioned the name of this particular thing as module.css, basically that will enable us to like locally import each of these styling, and that will not impact any other part of the application. So yeah, so we will not have, like, right now, like instantly I could not remember anything. So let's say home page. Later on we'll be here, like in the home page we'll be having all the blogs basically. So this is home page. The next thing why we have directly put this here, we need to put this in the one of the folders. So this should be a home page. These two should be inside this, and basically this should be index.jsx. The next thing what we want is basically create a new folder, and let's call it login. Basically this is inside this. Yeah, and that will basically that's like the login page. This is home page and this is the login page. Yeah, and everything will be very simpler, so don't expect something like looking spectacular, but yeah, like conceptually you'll be learning a lot of things. So so let's create an index.jsx file, and let's go to this login thing, and let's create an style dot module dot css. And if you're thinking why I'm speaking so slowly, because everyone else in my house is actually sleeping and I don't want to disturb them. .css. You can see the timing is 12:33 at the night. So style.module.css, and that's the login page we have right now. So actually, let's close all these things. So we'll be starting by simply going to this particular page, which is the login page, and actually creating it. So let's say IMR for importing the React, and SFC for functional component. We'll say it login page. Let's say div. Let's make it extremely simple. So there'll be something called brand. So there will be a navbar, simple navbar, which will have a class basically, and let's import our styling. So we'll say import style from / what is that, index.j style.module.css, and let's write style.nav. Basically, let's quickly write blog app. Okay, as simple as like that. And let's give it a class. Let's give it style dot container. Okay, and the actual form will be over here. So the action is, the problem is that it will refresh the page, so we don't want something like this. We want a form, but we don't want the default default action of the form. So basically we'll just give it some sort of like class name. I'll say style dot login form. Actually, we should have made the sign up form first, but as we're making it, let's make it. So input, we need email ID. So type is not text, type is email, and required, and placeholder is basically email ID. Okay, and the next thing we want is one more input. The type is what? The password. So password is the type, and this is also required, and the placeholder is password. Email and password basically. And the next thing, the final thing which we want is a button saying login. Basically, that's it. Let's see how the first thing we'll be doing is setting up this whole router thing up in this index.js file. Let's import 3 things from React router DOM. React router DOM. That 3 things is, first is browser router. The second is the switch. The third one is the route, basically. Now, just go and watch my routing series if you don't understand how routing works in React. Like if you have problem with that, I'll be just linking that there. So in the browser, basically router, specify the switch thing, and we'll be specifying the route thing over here. The path is actually this is home page, home path. Okay, the component which we want to render is home page, home. What is that name of the component? I actually forgot. So it's a homepage. Okay, that's what it is called. So let's go to the index page and let's call it home page. That has imported it, and then we'll say exact. Okay, the next thing which we want is a route. So path is login. There will be a lot of changes inside this just soon. Component login page. Yeah, so now as you can see, this is all the browser router and all. The next thing we'll be doing is going to the page and actually going to the login page. So /login, hitting enter. Nah, you can see without styling it is looking terrible, but yeah, you can see basically the email ID and the password field and the login field. So basically, let's style it up a little bit so it looks a little bit better, not just as terrible as it is looking right now. So let's place this over this side and let's close this particular thing and let's start styling this. So the nav bar is actually, the font size is about 14 pt. Inside this there's some padding, of course, so maybe 30 pixel on maybe 10 pixel and then 50 pixel, and then what should be the next thing? There will be a box shadow, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 15 pixel /ddd. What should be the next thing? The next thing would be, let's save it and let's see how does it look now. Yeah, it looks a little better, not insanely better, but yeah, something is better than nothing. Okay, and let's create a global CSS file which will actually contain a global basically thing. So it was already created but we deleted it. Let's create it, index.css file. This is a global CSS file and we'll just import it here. We'll say import / index.css. Yeah, so we'll just go to index.css and remove all the padding and margin from the body. So basically padding 0, margin 0, and what else? Box sizing. Okay, let's leave that. Okay, let's save that firstly and refresh the page. Yeah, it's on its place. The next thing is aligning this thing in its place, in the proper place. And actually let's give the body a background color. Let's call it a background color. Let's give it FA, a very light gray color, something like this. Okay, and let's now place this in the middle. So let's close this one up, and so basically the next thing which we have is the container. So we'll say flex, we'll say width 100%, height 100 VH, which is vertical height, and display flex, and justify content center, and align item center. That will basically send horizontally and center, like everything, like it will align it in the middle. And let's set the position of this to be fixed, so that will be better, I believe. So now if I go there, You can see everything, and this is like short because we have to set up width for this when this is like position fixed. So we'll be setting it to 100%. That will fix the issue. But for now, like you can see, email ID and password is in its correct place. So we'll just go here and say width is 100%. Okay, the next thing we'll be doing is moving towards this login form thing. So we'll be having some width, maybe 340 pixel, and height maybe 580 pixel. Save it, and background color to be white. Save it. Okay, you can see everything, like it's too long. It's way much more long, so we'll just let's make it a square, 340 by 340 pixels. Yeah, that's better. So we'll just give it a shadow, so box shadow, and I think the same shadow will work. So 1 pixel, 15 pixel slash DDD. That will work. And now what we'll do is, like, we will simply display flex. Okay, and text direction, column. Okay, justify content, center, and align items, center. Yeah, I believe that would work. Yeah, that looks better than before, I'll say, for sure. And let's now like style these input fields which we have. So we can simply go here and say dot login form, and then we can say all the input field inside this will be styled the same. So they'll have some padding. They'll have some 10 pixel padding, and they will have border 2 pixel solid, and hash 555, or like later. So we'll say f dash ddd. And the next thing which we want is basically, what else? Let's save it and actually see how they're looking. The focus color, I don't like that a lot. So we'll say login input and focus. So whenever they're in focus, I want the border to be blue. So border 2 pixel blue. Okay, and one more thing, we'll be giving some margin top as 10 pixel straight. Yeah, you can see that's looking better. That's absolutely looking better than before. And this button, will be styling this button individually. So so the next thing which we'll be doing is basically going here and actually giving an h1 over here, and we'll say login. Okay, that's not looking extremely bad, but that's okay. And the next thing we'll be doing is focusing on the button, login button. So login form button, and we're giving some padding maybe 10 maybe 6 pixel, and then 10 pixel. Okay, and we'll give some background color. So teal will be cool. The next thing we'll be doing is, actually, let's make this also teal. So this will be teal and white themed website. So yeah, and the color will be white. Okay, let's see. The border, now we have to remove all the default things. So border none, and that's it. We have to say margin top 10 pixel, and yeah, that's it. I believe that's looking fine enough, and that's not only becoming blue. Let's forget it now. uh, okay, so we have the login field. We'll be basically copying all of these things, and we'll be making almost similar sign up page. So let's quickly make the sign up page. Okay. Okay, let's actually create the sign up page. So where is the pages? Login page, and we haven't created any sign up page, so let's do that first. So let's call it sign up, and let's call it index.jsx. Okay, and let's say IMR for importing React, and SFC for generating a functional component. Then let's call it sign up, and next thing. And let's do one thing. Let's go to the login thing. Let's copy this whole thing, this whole thing into this sign up thing, because like most of the things are the same. Okay, and let's wait, there's some issue. Wait, we haven't copied it properly. So on return to this last statement, copy from return to this statement, copy paste. Yeah, so that's better. The next thing which we do, which we want to do, is basically copy the styling and all. So style.module.css basically, and we're gonna copy. And as I already told you, we are using modules, so no conflicts and all will be happening. So let's now quickly change all the text and all. So this is not login, this is now sign up. Okay, and basically we have one more input field over here that is of type text, and the placeholder is name now. Name, and by the way, this is also required. Okay, and this is not like login, this is sign up. Okay, and once you do that, the next thing which we have to do is actually we're gonna put this into our router. Let's go and put this thing inside our router. So where's our router? So basically go here, we'll say route a path is equals to slash sign up component is equals to sign up. Okay, that's the sign up component. So I see how does it look. There's some errors, the style is not defined, so because we haven't imported it in the sign up page. So let's do that first. So it's imported, import style from the slash style.module.css. That should actually fix the issue. Wait. Okay. Okay. So now let's go to the sign up page. Sign up. And you can see the sign up page. That's exactly how we wanted to be. And we have successfully made the sign up and the login page, the layout. We haven't like we were not able to like we haven't completed this actual sign up thing. So the next thing which we'll be doing is installing a library in the client called npm install Axios, and that will actually help us to make request to the backend. Okay. Okay, it's a little bit of stretching is important. let's see how much time does it take to install this thing up. Okay. Yeah, you can see Axios has been successfully installed in our system. So the next work we'll be doing is basically creating all the states and all, everything is required, which is required, and sending it to the server. That's all which we have to do. So let's create a state. Let's call it regis sign up data. Let's create a state out of it. So set sign up data, and we'll call it new state. I'll simply create 3 name thing, which will blank, email thing, which will also be blank, and a password thing, which will also be blank. Okay, and basically we'll have a function called sign up user. This function will actually be signing up the user. Okay, now let's start from here. Okay, and we'll say on change. Whenever this is changed, we'll basically receive an event over here. We'll simply say set sign up data simply, and we'll copy all the data which is there from default before, and we'll say that the name is e dot target dot value VLU. Okay, and that's basically it on change. And the one more thing we have to specify the value is sign up data, sign up data. Okay, dot name basically. And the next thing which we'll be doing is actually copying the same thing to all other, like this input field, and just changing this from name to email. And basically that will do the work for us now. The next thing will be just pasting the same thing in the next one also, and changing this from name to password, and that's it. Okay, now basically this will set the state whenever there will be a change in the data. And now we have the data, so we have to simply grab it and send it to the server. So we have the Axios, if you remember, so let's import that. Okay, now once we have the Axios, the next thing which we have to do is actually send the server the send a request to the server. So we'll say that actually we can make this function in async function, so that we can use async await. We haven't used async await in the backend. We'll be using it in the front end. That's great. So let's await, let response be is equal to await Axios. And basically if you go and notice in the backend, basically I want to show you in the server routes authentication, we have this as a get request, but this should be a post request, because we are submitting some data to the database, right? So there should be a post request. So we have written post over there, and we'll say Axios post. Basically the first thing which you have to specify is the address. So because we have specified the proxy, so we have to simply say the /API/version1/auth, which is authentication /sign up, and the next thing we need to pass is the data. So the data is simply sign up data, And one more thing, we'll be creating one more state over here. We'll call it error state. Okay, and this will be called whenever if the user has not written anything. So error state. So set error, okay, is equal to use state, and let's call it message. So whatever message is there, you have to give away and show, which basically this will be used for showing if there's some error or not. By default it will be false, there will be no error, or there will be no problem, you can say. So here, not here, basically here above this, you can say that if error dot show is true, then simply load an h5 and simply say error dot message. Okay, so if there is some error, simply show it, and there's also given button to close it. So let's specify a button, it says to close. Let's give it like on click. So on click, and whenever this is clicked, actually what we want is we want to set the sign up data to its default state. Oh, okay, we don't want to set the sign up data to it all. We want to set the error to its default state. So as I set error to its default state, which is this one. Let's copy that from there and paste this over here. Let's save this. You can see that will basically reset the error. The next thing is, after making this request, is actually the response is there in the rest.data. So okay, first of all, let's test, like before making the request, let's actually test like whether this thing is empty or not. So we'll say simply it's the same method, let error is equals to null, like blank, if sign up data name is equals to like the blank, then error dot push no name, like, okay, so name, email, and password. No email and no password. Yeah, so we do not have the email and the password, so we have the error. Okay, so we'll say if the error dot length is not equal to 0, that means there's some error, we'll simply return from this place. That will not do anything from here. Okay, we can write an else statement over here. Basically that will also do the same work. Okay, so if there is like some error, we'll simply say set error message to basically error dot toString. Okay, and the next thing which we want to do is basically show to true. Okay, and if there's no, we're making the request to the Axios. Okay, so let response is equals to Axios dot a post request, basically to slash API slash version1 slash auth slash sign up. Okay, and basically we'll be passing the whole sign up data to this. And if you're confused like from where this thing is coming, this is extremely simple. Like if you go to the server in the main, like this whole thing starts with here. So if anything comes to API version 1, it will go to the routes. In the routes, if you can see, if anything comes after this, like /API/version 1, if anything comes from the auth, it will go to the auth. If you go to auth, anything after that, if it has the sign up thing, it will be handled by this particular thing. So yeah, I believe that's not very difficult. So we'll simply say if res.data.res, which is the final result, is true, then simply what to do, then the user has successfully logged in. So logged success. Okay, and let's save it. Let's see, does it work or not? Okay. We have a close button by default over there, because you know that close button is outside this whole what do you say, this whole and statement. So let's make one more thing. Let's put this, like this whole button thing inside this. So let's do one thing. Let's wrap it inside an fragment. So yeah, that will basically do the work for me. Now I can start. So basically, if I do not do anything and submit it, please fill out the form. And one more thing, you know, we forgot, it will not basically work. It will refresh the page because we didn't prevent the default action of the and we also did not give the on click over here. So we'll say on click, whenever this is click, sign up user, the sign up data, sign up user, and here in the sign up user, we'll basically get an event, and we want to prevent the default thing from happening, like refreshing the page and all. So e dot prevent default, prevent default. Yeah, that should basically work. So now if I go and submit it, I'm getting no email, no name, no email, no password. That's correct. That's going outside. Okay, so let's see, does it work or not? j@j.com, password is root. Okay, and if I sign up, does it give some error? Okay, it has some error, so it says rest of undefined. Okay, we finally forget to do one thing. What is the thing we forgot to do? 401. There, actually, we forgot to do one thing. We forgot to write await over here, first thing, because this is an asynchronous thing. So yeah, okay, let's see, does that improve the chances? test @test.com and root. I believe we got the success. So let's go and check the console. Okay, let's forget about this. Let's go and check the console of this particular thing. We have handled this with an 401 callback. It is not like 200, which is okay. So that's bad. Let's see what is the issue. Actually, if you go to the server, if you go to the auth, go and check, we are basically responding with this particular thing, which is 201. Okay, request.body. Let's see what is the data we are receiving over here. So log, or do we even receiving the data or not? So I don't know. Okay, it's starting the server again, and we'll be submitting it again. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's I'm just going to submit the data right now. Yeah, you can see the password is being passed. Other than that, nothing is being passed, and that's kind of sad. And that's why we are getting that 401 thing is there because of that. So I don't know why this is happening. Let's go and check the front end. Sign up data has name, email, password, everything. I believe the problem is happening due to this particular thing. So okay, the problem is that we are actually appending set sign up data, which is actually a function. So we have to write over there sign up data. You know, this auto completion thing creates a lot of issues sometimes. So this is sign up data, and again here also this is sign up data, and that should basically solve the issue. Let's see, let's refresh this whole thing, bring up the thing, and let's bring up in this thing right there, and let's fill out the form. So the name is j@j.com, and the password is root sign up. Yeah, it responded with 500 error this time, so this is some internal error. I don't know what this error is, but this is a 500 error code, so that's an issue, man. That's a major issue. Request failed with promise code 500. Okay, let's see. We are receiving all the data. So okay, actually, let's do one thing. Let's log the error out, so that whenever error comes, we at least know what is the error. And so let's go to the index dot whatever this page is. Let's log the error. So we'll say let's log the error which we are receiving, so that we at least, you know, in the console we know what is the error instead of just looking at the response and all. So let's send it again. Okay, there is this one. So it's called dot then is not function. So at JWT sign dot then is not function, and that's the error there. So let's fix it. So it says inside this JWT sign there's no dot then function. So how to sign this thing? Let's go and find out. So let's go to JSON web token. Okay, debugging things take a little bit of time. So this is how we do sign. Okay, and this is not an asynchronous function, by the way. That's the mistake we were doing. Okay, we got the mistake. This is not like signing is not an asynchronous function, and we considered it an asynchronous function. That's why this error and all were coming. So let's quickly remove this dot then and all, and let's grab everything there. cut this and remove this dot, then catch whatever this thing is, and actually let's remove this right here, and basically let token be equal to directly this, and then we can do this. Save this up, pray for the best this time. I don't know, should work, like everything is correct, so should work. So let's go and try this. So if I just go and submit this now, yeah, worked perfectly, worked as we intended. It has like 200 milliseconds. Let's see the cookie and all, everything is set up correctly or not. So success, we got the success. If I go to this application, then to this cookie, there's the data value, this is done, this is false, this is okay. Okay, so if I go to this thing called cookies, in this thing I have some things over there. The value is undefined and the name is whole of the JWT, and that's bad, man. We are doing the opposite thing. So we are doing the opposite thing over here. Just delete this first. Okay, and actually this thing is, we are like 2 times writing this. I don't know why. Okay, so save this, log in, sign up again. So see, now it worked. Now it worked exactly how we intended to be. So intended this to be. So it has successfully set up this JWT, which is our JSON web token. Basically we have completed the sign up thing now, so we have to focus on login thing, which is a lot more easier than sign up because sign up is a bit trickier one. So let's now quickly go and remove this login data and thing and all. So we don't want to log this data anymore. The next thing is, let's quickly code the sign in thing. So it is extremely very simple. First of all, we just have to find this thing. So let's go and search for this finding thing on the mongoose. So find model. How to do this find thing? Document. I believe I know this. Okay, man. Just I'll be continuing this. Thank you.